Welcome, everyone, to our live podcast on fires of relationships. I'm Cylindrin Buller, your host of Uplifting Humans, where we honor, empower, educate, and inspire the listener. Joining me today is Dr. Johnathan Flores from Ecuador, host of Ancestral Medicine in Modern Times, and Matilda Tavanian from France, podcast host of Coffee with Matilda. Welcome.
Welcome.
Relationships and welcome. Relationships can be broken, and we too can be broken by relationships. So we felt that it was very important to have this conversation today. And during this time of chaos, it is so important to bring the conversation back to why we have relationships in the first place and the purpose that they serve in life. So we'll start with Matilda. What do you feel?
About relationships.
And what purpose do they serve? Why do we have relationships?
I think life is all about relationships. First starts from you, the relationship that you have with yourself. I think that's the main relationship that everyone should work on, and that's the main relationship we have in our life. Once I have a better relationship with myself, I can have better relationship with other people. So as my podcast is about, it's about everything starts with me and ends with me. And if I have a better communication with myself, if I start loving myself, if I start becoming my own best friend,
Yes.
my parents will benefit from it. If I have kids, they will get a benefit from that. I can connect with other humans better. I can become a better partner, you can become a better wife, better husband for your significant other. So I think everything starts with you and ends with you. And that's your relationship with yourself.
Beautiful. Very well said. I totally resonate with that. And Dr. Flores, how about you? What do you feel uh, in these times right now? Why do we have relationships, and what purpose do they serve?
We are an animal. The human being is an animal, and as an animal, we are we are one organism. That's a race. Though. Different animals are each species of each animal is one organism, and they are made from nature to work with each other, to help each other, to evolve in life. In order to evolve, you need to survive. So the first step of wanting to come together in a community is the survival. And there is when all the tradition and the foundations of the path starts. So we need relationship because with how relationships we cannot grow, we cannot
Right.
develop. Yeah, we need to come. Imagine, the human animal
And
being
in
when
shamanism, Dr. Jonathan, how about in a shaman's perspective? What purpose do the relationships serve in your evolution, in your emotional, psychological um, needs that need to be met? Is there a different perspective from the shaman's perspective on the human need for relationships?
but it is beyond a need. It is you cannot be separated. So the idea of not being in a relationship is just a concept of our mind that have evolved has entered in an evolution that thinks that is separated from you, from me. For example, imagine in Ecuador we still have Indian communities that are recognized from thousands of years. So they
Yes.
are the owners of the land. For example, they don't have to buy land. They have
R-
a great piece of land, and when you're born and you come in the community, all the community supports you and holds you to you continue and protect the land or the treasure, the present you have received. So it's
Right.
about so 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 you are always in a relationship, even if you don't want to. So in the shamanic way, so you are part of nature, and as a part of nature, you have a part of the cycle of life where you are responsible to contribute, or to help maintain. For example, from a shamanistic way, humans we are guardians of nature. So we are
I see.
plants. We are like plants that walks and help to take care of nature.
Right, right. So it's the wholeness and the oneness aspect that we serve in on Gaia, on planet Earth.
Yes,
It's not that we're separate in any which way or form, not from each other. We're not separate from the animal kingdom. We're not separate from the plant kingdom. I love that. That's a beautiful explanation. Now, I know that, relationships in the past, um, for myself, for an example, it was ingrained into us, this is your aunt and this is your uncle and these are your, relationships. And there was an emphasis put on, someone who was older, who had lived longer, who had, um, who had experiences of life that maybe we didn't have just yet. In other words, in the past, there was this understanding that someone who had lived longer had experienced and knowledge more than someone younger. And I'm going to start with Matilda. How do you feel about that? Is that still happening today, or is that something that we've kind of put to the wayside as we became more
Um,
materialistic?
well, in my experience, I lived with my grandma. When I was in LA for 10 years, I lived with my grandma. She was my roommate. And so I lived with her end of my teens to kind of towards the end of my 20s. Then I moved to New York. But I've learned so much from her. I've learned so much about life with her. Then I've learned it from my books, from my education, from anywhere else. I She gave me life lessons, and she only studied. I think she only went to school till third grade. She doesn't
Hmm.
even know what Rumi is. She doesn't even know what Deepak Chopra is, but she knows life, and I'm. I feel I'm wiser than the people my age because of her wisdom,
Because of
and
her wisdom. Yes, yes.
and I cannot understand why we cannot learn from them, use their knowledge. It's the wealth of our generation. So for me, it's like that's a must.
Mm,
I really enjoyed my life living with her, and there is no day that passes by that I don't remember her, think of her, and remember the lessons that she gave me. Some of them I'm still learning, and I'm still realizing, oh my God, she was saying this, that meant this. So
nice.
for me, if when I have a child, it will be a must for my child to be in touch and live with the grandparents, because I think that child will learn more from them than from me, or from the books and from a higher education that he or she will get.
Beautiful, beautiful. Love that. So resonates again. And Dr. Jonathan, how do you feel about this? Do you
Eh,
feel that
eh,
the nowadays people maybe don't have the same regard as they did in the past for someone who was older?
eh, the what Matilda is saying, I'm agree, is the continuation about what I was explaining you about the community. Before we we were recognized that we need each other to build the village, to go hunting, people to take care of the elders, or people to care things about the kids in the community. And there were people that there were mans that were not hunters, but they were like blacksmith. They do tools or things, no. So everybody has like an ability, a gift to do something, and to participate and to support the community. So we were living so in a community that were together for several years. In a moment, they will have different ages, no? So the elders was the ones that have the memory of what happened from the beginning, and how and what mistakes they did, and where and what they were not mistakes, were certainties that they did it right, and this was the way, the truth they found in the past. So what is happening now is that people, divided like like religions, political thinking, no. So everything is divided, no. One master told me from jungle, say, before here we have no borders, no passports, no borders. The land doesn't belong to me, doesn't belong to you. You cannot buy it. You cannot say this is my house.
Yes,
The
yes.
only thing you can say is I take care from this garden. So I have been working with these fruits, with this corn, with this coffee, and this you have to ask permission to me to take this because I have been working for the whole year for this. So as
Yes.
a guardian, you get an authority, but not as an owner, sino as a merit for what you have done, for the energy you have spent doing something for the benefit of the community. So then you
Right.
become a her. And then, so the elders are the ones that keep all this sacred knowledge of respect, of connection, of medicine, of understanding psychology, because they have been passing for all the cycles of life, and they're just waiting for death. Even the last teaching that elders taught to us, they teach us to die.
Wow. How to transition into the next world, which
Yes,
is amazing. So there definitely is that oneness element throughout a life in your part of the world, which is beautiful to see. Now, the quality of your relationships decides the quality of your life. And what I want to do is ask both of you, where does personal responsibility fit into this? We'll start with Matilda. So, yes, because you had, you know, shared with us the importance of loving oneself. Where does personal responsibility in our relationships come in?
I think once you realize that you're always responsible about what's happening with your situation, or if you have any bad circumstances with someone, it's all you have the control over it. Maybe your communication was not proper to that person that you were having conversation with. Maybe you didn't elaborated yourself well. Maybe you didn't explain the situation well to the other person. Once you realize you have all the power within you to fix that, I think then you can go in and say, okay, this was the outcome. I don't like the outcome. What have I done that I could do differently? And I think once we have that kind of a mindset, we we won't blame other people for things that happen to us or things that we didn't like that happened to us. Then we can have all the power within us to fix things. Maybe I need to be a better communicator. Maybe I need to have more patience. Maybe I need to learn how to become a better, I don't know, ex- better explaining situation to other people. I
Mhm.
think that whatever happens with other people, I take it personally. I see myself, what have I done that I can do differently this time so I can have a better outcome with this human being. It's not, doesn't matter who the other person is in front of me. I have the power within myself to
Which
fix
brings
whatever
me
action I want.
right. And so there is where the personal responsibility lies, is that it starts with you.
And
And
ends with
so
you.
if there is something going on which you're looking out there with your finger pointed, realistically you need to turn that finger around and point it at yourself. And Dr. Jonathan, I just want to get you to elaborate on the acceptance of personal responsibility, because a lot of people that cannot accept the possibility that maybe their unhappiness, their unworthiness, whatever it is that they're feeling, is really them. Is there a way to get over that, get beyond that? Can you share with us any of your understanding of acceptance and personal responsibility?
This has been my biggest challenge in my life as a healer. Uh, I asked this question to myself many times. I said, like, how I can support and help people to go to the next level. So I consider myself a person that I build bridges for people. I build them so people can cross them, or so what I have found. This is in my experience. What I have found, and that there is people don't want to grow, and that is okay.
Hmm.
And we don't need to force them, and we don't need to do nothing. We don't need to motivate them. We don't need to teach them nothing. We can be available. So then I believe that start the most important aspect in a relationship, that is respect. We must have respect for everyone, and for everyone, what everyone wants to do in their life. So if someone doesn't want to grow, doesn't want to develop, and they want to stay as they are, and they want to complain all the time, and they want to live the healthier living, we must be very respectful with that and honor them. And the only thing we can do is pray, uh, to Great Spirit, or to God, or to any deity you can pray, to give you the patience and the understanding to
And be
really get
guided.
and be guided to really see and feel what is the free will. Because once you develop and once you grow, I love, for example, in myself, I love to break myself and break through my layers, and all the time become a more evolutional person. I love this. But some
Yes.
people doesn't love this. And
Yes.
I cannot consider myself that I am better than you. I was doing this in my beginnings. In my beginnings, I was saying to people, "You are in the worst position you can be. You can be in a better position than like me. Look at me, how successful I am, how happy I am. Look, the family I built. Look, the relationship I'm having with my wife and with my home, everything. But why people should live good if they don't want? I believe life must have a contrast. Life more have shadow and lights and different colors and matrix, in order we can experience what this beautiful realm that we're having here in this moment. So it's not about, it's like we say, why, how we're going to convince everyone to become Christian, or Buddhist, or to take or go to the ayahuasca path. No, no. For example, in my beginnings, I was convincing people that I have found the real path in life.
Yes.
And then in the
Wow.
moment, I was saying, like, what? Who says that my path is my real path? It's the real path for me. So and when I stop sharing with people, like teaching them, forcing them to learn the truth of my path, then my life, my relationship get better. So, and now, I just, when suddenly when people ask me, or they give me the possibility of a suggestion, I participate. If not, what do you see?
Okay.
Every
No.
perfect, everything is beautiful. I know you're doing beautiful. Yeah, no, no criticizing, no, no, say like
No, you cannot push your so-called wonderful vision of what life is supposed to be on someone else. So, yes, there's a lot to be said about free will and choice. And I thank you for that. We do have a beautiful question here.
But let me tell you something very important now, but because
Sure.
this question
Okay.
this question goes with the coronavirus in this one, for example. Nature now, it is for because we are part of nature, so our ruler is our mother nature. You can say Gaia, Pachamama, okay, the divine mother. So this divine mother, this Pachamama, this Mother Earth is our mother. We come from her. We can have a spirit, but our body comes from her. Everything, and we are still alive from her. So she's the one that teaches us, and she's teaching us a lesson. No? So we have a free will. So we, as a brothers and sisters, we cannot force each other. But our mother can say you, hey you, pay attention.
Right. And therein lies the beautiful relationships that we do form, whether it's with the natural world or with individuals. Now, I do have a beautiful question which I'd like you to answer, and that question comes from Deanie. And I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She says, "What about those children that were abused? What about the children that were abused? Where is their responsibility as a child? You know, what can you share with us in regards to someone who was abused as a child, and and just take it from there. We'll start with Matilda,
Well, this is a tough
or
question, but I think whenever this kind of a scenario happens, obviously it's very unfortunate, but I think it's your responsibility as a human being, once you're a little bit older, to look at the lessons that you've learned from it, and you need to find a beauty in that scenario. Maybe that abuse made you realize, made you learn certain skills, made you become more social, maybe, or you start writing because you found peace in writing. Maybe you start singing. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you start developing a very strong emotional intelligence because you were in these circumstances. I think there is a beauty in every scenario. You have to find your strength in that bad trauma. Um, I think it's the mindset. It's not about the circumstances. It's more about your mindset about that circumstance that can affect you. And if you have the right mindset, I think um, that's the right way to go. A lot of people find courage in the face of adversity. And maybe if they didn't have that adversity, they wouldn't even have those kind of courage or those kind of characteristic that later on benefits them.
and I think there's a lot to be said also here, in regards to children that are abused. You know, the reason that you have parents or guardians, they are really the ones that are coming here, that are supposed to be your protectors, caregivers, the ones that are there as your counsel, as your um, guardians, basically. And so, where does the responsibility come in? I think that you do have to look at the caregivers, the guardians that are responsible. And there are a lot of children that are abused, but I think the responsibility is not theirs alone. I think it's the responsibility of the community. I think that as a community, as a whole, we have to come together to support these atrocities that are happening around us, whether we're aware of them or not. You know, they do exist. I don't think that the responsibility is for the child or for you know, call it a single parent. I think that the responsibility is there for all of us to be aware of it and do as much as we can. And thank you, Dini, for putting this question forward. And I know that you've just sent in another question. It says, "What can we do to help them?" I think the biggest thing that we can do is shed light on the fact that it exists. Whether you know it, believe it, or understand it, child abuse exists. And we as a community are doing not as much as we should be doing. And Dr. Johnathan, if you want to tune in at any point here and join in the discussion, because there is a responsibility, but it's not the child's responsibility, definitely, because that's the reason they're a child still. They're still growing. Yes, there is opportunities and growth that eventually comes, but what else can we do to help them?
This is very delicate. No, I will choose my words wisely because now we're on air and many people may listen. The the child, in what I have seen in the work and working with other colleagues, we have coming to a point that child abuse comes from a disorder in the family, in the elder. So when someone is abused in the family tree, this has happened several times. It's not just in the moment it's happening. No? So first we have to recognize this. First we have to do a study where there is therapeutic techniques to go and see and investigate where this starts. Okay. So once you find this, then we have to do a work to heal this in this family tree. Okay. Then we go back and then and then when we can heal this and forgive this, then what we do, I am as abused kid, because I'm going to grow. So if I don't, so what I can do, I can stop the abuse myself. I can not let this happen again. But what happened, and it's going to be crazy, we're going to say that I have known people that has been abused and they do the work for healing the abuse and the problem with the elders or with the uncle and this, but they still abusing from people in different ways. Maybe they don't abuse sexually, but they abuse psychological, they abuse them by the power with the money, they abuse from people, from the employees. So so it's about cutting the chain of abuse. So abuse comes from the lack of respect, the lack of recognition, the lack of the other. And it starts because we forget that we are spiritual beings. So when people is having a sexual abuse with a person, it's just looking the body. It's just looking the satisfaction of the material body, but it's not looking the spirit. If we can see the spirit, we can learn and train to recognize the spirit in the shell that is the body. So then we don't touch because we see it's a spirit. So it's very sacred. So we cannot offend. We cannot harm because it's the spirit. It's a spirit. That's why
Right.
that's why if we learn this, also we will heal. We will not abuse from nature. So from throwing tons of trash to the sea, contaminating rivers, the air. All this is
Yes.
sexual abuse.
Well, again, to touch on abuse, abuse comes in many forms. Sexual abuse, you can see that you're obviously going to have a child who's been sexually abused lash out in certain ways, which obviously will tell you that something has happened. Whereas when you look at someone who's mentally abused, you know, you can have you can see the harm that's caused by a black eye or a bruise on the body, but what about the bruising that's happening on the inside? the psychological um, the psychological abuse is even far greater, and people don't understand that. And the other thing that I think that we do need to touch upon is that there's a lot of individuals that don't comprehend the wholeness of themselves or of of humanity. And what will happen is that they're broken in some way. They don't know how to heal that part of themselves. And what will happen is that it will have a ripple effect. So, at what point do you draw the line and you say, you know what? You have to look at yourself in the mirror every day. You're going to wake up and you're going to see yourself. Can you live with what you're doing for the rest of your life? So that being said, I do believe Dr. Johnathan had his hand up, and then we'll go to Matilda. So, Dr. Johnathan, you had something to touch on?
To give you an example about the people that is abused, how they abuse. I had a patient like 5 years ago, and she was working in United States in an office where she protects women that has been abused from their husband or from any man or any kind of abuse. And what she told me was like, wow, Salisa, you have any idea. I stopped working in that, she told me, because after years of helping these women, these people, we get separate from this abuser that was causing this damage to them. And then later, after a few months, they will coming back again to see this person, looking for the abuse.
Oh my. So they were conditioned. It's like the woman who leaves her husband only to find another man that abuses her. So it's
Yes,
psychologically something that they've accepted and cannot live without.
they
because
understand
they
that that is
think that's their worth.
So,
they continue, continue.
yeah. So, Matilda, you were saying you also had your hand up. Did you want to just chime in on
Yeah.
this, and then we're gonna weave in another aspect of fires of relationships, because we'll do another show completely on how we can come together uh, to help the wounded. Yes, go ahead.
I think self-love is the main element here. If we teach children from young age to develop self-love, and I think that's what it's gonna save them. They don't need anyone else to save them. They need themselves to save themselves. I mean, um, once you learn that certain elements, the way people are treating you, it's wrong. These are wrong friends to have. Even family members, the way they're treating you, it's not right. It's not proper to you. Then you will have a different mindset. You will seek help outside. But once you don't have that self-love, then there's a problem there. You won't even go and seek out help outside because you will think you deserve that abuse. That's why even some women, when they're older than 18, they're abused by their husbands, for example. They go back to that husband again because they think that's their comfort zone.
Okay, so
Or
from the conversation that we're having, and thank you again, Deanie, for chiming in here in regards to children. And I know that you have an incredible, beautiful heart where, you have zeroed in on a huge issue within our communities, within our countries, within our consciousness that needs to shift, especially in regards to children. Because when you have priests doing such horrible things to children, I mean, it leaves a huge question mark about what is this life about. But we will definitely have a conversation in regards to this another day. And um, and I thank you so much for listening in on this. But the underlying issue of the fires of relationships, if we go back to the initial question, why do we need relationships? And the one thing that I would like to share is that we want to be seen, we want to be validated, we want to be treasured, we want to be needed. Those are all qualities within us that need to be fulfilled. Now, is there a possibility that maybe we can love more generously? Is there that possibility? That's a huge question. So instead of going out there, now what we're going to do is we're going to switch the the topic in more of a positive light. Some relationships are formed on physical, some relationships are formed on psychological needs, some are formed on emotional needs, social needs, financial needs. Um, Dr. Jonathan, in your eyes, when a relationship is formed, I mean, obviously, relationships are formed first and foremost as a child. You come into this world with a relationship with your mother. That is a very sacred relationship. In the shamanic understanding that you do have, can you share with us how sacred a relationship that is? Because your life that you've been blessed with comes through your mother.
Well, that is a very huge question. I will try to answer as short as possible. The mother connection is the most important connection. It's not that the father connection is not important, but the mother connection is the one that in the shamanic world it says like this: you are connected with the universe through the umbilical cordon inside of the womb of your mother when you are there. When you come out, you connect with the world, with the universe through the breast of your mom. And then when you grow up, you connect with the tobacco. You learn to pray with tobacco and connect with the universe. That's what the master says in the shamanic way. So the connection with the mother is what makes you successful in this life or not. For why? Because mother teach you how to have a peaceful or beautiful or an horrific inner world. So that's why, so like in a big space, in a big picture, it is like mother teach you how things work inside of home, and father teach you how you can relate outside of home. Okay, so mother teach you the support is energy, nutrition, the trust in yourself, no? And father teach you how you penetrate life. But you go penetrate life with the trust that your mother gives you. That makes you feel that you that trust that this is a beautiful world, that you are safe, that if you get harmed, she take care of your wounds and teach you that your wounds are important, and it's very important to take care of your wounds and to heal it, to be aware and to see and pay attention if they are healing or not healing. So later, when you learn this, so you learn to heal yourself. So you learn to like, what that this was like in a I am developing the subject that Matilda says, so like you we must teach our kids to be, but who teach this? It is the first 7 years, it is the mother. The father, the father happened later, 8 years, 9 years, after 10 years, maybe when the sexual energy awakes, first menstruation, or the 12, 13 years in the man. And then it's when father is important. But the first years is just the mother. So that's why it's very important. And I don't, so I want to say, so everything what is happening here, like the behaviors that we have, comes from our mother in most of the cases, because she is the one that or the woman that raised us. In my case, I have two influences. I have my grandma and my mother, but they teach you everything what you need to know about your inner world. Yeah, that's what
Okay,
I
that's
can
a
say. No,
yes, yes. No, I totally love that because you know what? I think that there is one of the most sacred contracts that you have is with your mother, the person that brought you into this world. And I'm going to jump over to Matilda. And Matilda, I'm just going to get you to elaborate on that question, but at the same time, I'm going to give you the next question as well. And the next question is that what you focus in on you get more of. So when you're constantly looking at the differences between you and someone else, or the problems that you have between you and someone else, that is what your world becomes. And so if you can go ahead and you can share with us, A, your connection or your relationship with your mother figure, and B, uh, zeroing in on what you focus in on, your differences, your problems, your anxieties, your worries, and how that plays into it.
I love these questions. First one, I love it because I have an amazing relationship with my mother and my grandmother. I think both have a very big element in my life. Um, Salinger and Dr. Jonathan, what I love about mothers is a woman, for example, in my mother, she's a very calm woman, very collected woman. But when it comes to me, if something come about it's about me, she becomes this lioness. I see it. She changes.
Mm,
Like she's this warrior that I'm like, woo, where were you? It's amazing. And I see that in a lot of my friends that they become mother as well. The personality change, this warrior side of them comes out that I never seen. And it's amazing. I think, and actually it's one of the elements that why I would love to be a mother one day, that I would like to experience that change in me, that someone else is so important that I'm becoming this lioness for them, you know.
mm-hmm,
So I
mm-hmm.
think it's very beautiful to see that in a woman. Your second question, I think everything is about your inner world. How you see world, it's not what's outside, it's what's inside. And if you see beauty in people, it's because you have a beautiful world inside you. And more importantly, you are in peace with yourself. When you're not in peace with yourself, then you see world in an ugly way because you question everything. Um, I believe that's what's whenever you fix things inside you, the outer world will be fixed.
Great.
That's
And Dr. Jonathan, would you like to touch on that aspect of it as to when you're looking at everyone on the outside and saying that, there's the problem right there. Why can't that person behave in a manner that I'm comfortable with? Why can't they live their life the way I want them to live their life? So we've all dealt with it. And to some degree, we've all been there. So,
Mhm.
Dr. Jonathan, what can you share with us from your understanding as a doctor and also as a shaman?
What I have learned and witnessed in myself, even in the therapy I develop, it is through how I have evolved and how I have found the answers inside of me and how I have faced my different layers. So, saying this, what I mean is what you see in the other, you cannot see in the other something that you don't know. You only can see what you know. So when what you see is what you already know you have inside. So when something is happening to you, when you saw someone and you like it or not like it, you're just projecting yourself. So
And yes, yes.
very few people in the world, very few people can see reality as it is. Especially, so the most they can do is the kids, but then later they start losing this when they are building their personality. So we project all the time. So once you learn this truth, so I project the most beautiful thing in everyone because I just connect with the beauty inside of me and I have faces all the shadows of me. So in my case, in this moment, I don't criticize no one and I don't judge no one and I always see the beauty and I always connect the beauty. If in a moment I connect with the negative part of the person, I realize what I'm doing, I'm connecting with a negative part of myself or with a trauma in myself. And if when you heal it, you can go out from there, recognize it, and say, no, I'm going to pay attention to the positive of the beauty that this person has. because I'm
Yes,
connecting with the beauty that I recognize in me. So
that's right.
everything that I see in the other, it is me. When I speak, when you hear someone speaking about someone else, it is speaking about themselves.
Okay, that's wonderful. And I totally 100% agree with that because the key here to life is that you are projecting. So, once again, for our listeners, in life, you have to recognize the fact that the other is not really the other. The other is an aspect of yourself.
In the
Okay.
Mayan tradition, in the Mayan tradition, they were the I don't know, remember the word now, but when they say hi, good morning, good afternoon, when they found each other in the community, they would say, "Hi, other me,
Nice.
hi, other
Nice.
me."
That is beautiful. Now, I'm going to jump, which is, you may or may not be familiar with what they call the Platonic love. Now, to explain that a little bit, because I thought, this is an interesting concept. The Platonic love is a special emotional and spiritual relationship between two people who love and admire one another because of common interests, spiritual connection, and similar worldviews. It does not involve any sort of a sexual involvement. What can you share with us about platonic relationships and did they exist back in the day, Dr. Jonathan?
It's very difficult. Like for me, it's very difficult to understand this concept. Like I just love and I admire people, many people in my life. There are masters in my life. The most people that I admire are my masters, beginning from my grandma and then going one, for example, platonic love. We can say this has nothing to do, o sea, as a spiritual. It could be Paramahansa Yogananda. It could be for me, o sea, like masters that teach about love and share and teach you how to develop your love in you. So for me, is that, so then I have nothing more complicated. So I keep it simple in this case. So.
And so you do believe that there is this thing called platonic love. There is this concept that exists. As
I don't
far as you
exactly. I don't know exactly. So I'm sorry. I don't know exactly if I'm accurate with the concept. Maybe I struggle a little bit to understand this concept. I just find that love is love, and you can love and you can admire many people that can be a good example for you in your life. So I love everyone, but I love the most, and I pay attention to the people that helps me, give me a good mirroring how I can develop more in my life, how I can grow more, how can I love more, to serve more, to be more intelligent, to be more healthy with my body. So if that is platonic love, yes, I believe exists, no? So that I can have. If not, I'm sorry, I don't understand the concept.
no problem. And Matilda, do you have anything to offer in
Yeah.
regard to that? Yes.
Actually, I'm fascinated by Rumi, and Rumi and Shamsa Tabrizi had this amazing relationship together. And I've been reading Rumi since the age of 12, so I can talk about Rumi and Sufism for hours and hours. But what's so beautiful about it, till 19th century, Western world didn't know about Sufism that much, and they thought Rumi and Shams were lovers. But after 19th century, when they became more familiar with Sufism, they realized their love was so beautiful. They appreciate each other as humans, not as gender, not as sexuality, as
Yeah.
a one, as a unit. And it was so beautiful. And if you read 40 Rules of Shams, they touch upon love and they say love is love. We shouldn't put borders, we shouldn't put names in it, because once you feel you're connected to another being so much that their pain becomes your pain, their joy becomes your joy, the unity is so much more um, powerful and so beautiful and so inspiring that sexuality and romance doesn't even have any level there. It's so much above than that. So I truly believe it. And I think you can connect with another human being, strangers sometimes. You can develop that connection, um, that connection with other people. You have to be open to it, open to the concept that another human being can come and just change your life, change the way you think, and change how your heart looks at life, you know?
Mm.
So I'm looking for
That
my shams, and I'm thinking maybe my grandma is my shams. I don't know. I
beautiful.
think I will come to that conclusion towards the end of my life. So I would say, oh, my grandma was, or whoever that I think will be my shams. But I'm actively looking, and I hope one day either it's my grandma or I will meet that human being that will change my life, change the way I look, makes me crazy, and experience life in a different way with a different energy level, you know?
And again, just for the listening audience, a platonic love could be someone who dances with you psychologically. And so you might start a question or a statement, but without spoken words, the other understands. And it could be two females, it could be two males, it could be male, female, it could be a child and an adult. So there's many layers of that. So that is beautiful. I wanted to really touch on that because I think this is the time for a lot of platonic love. Now, we're coming very close to the end of our 1 hour, which, we're 8 minutes away here. I want to get your take on, and I will start this. How can you make your relationships better? And so for me, I will say express gratitude. The more grateful you are for the relationships that you have, the more relationships that you will have in your life that will flow with you. Matilda?
I would say see the beauty in other human being. They all have some sort of gold inside them. Maybe you can help them to find the gold in them and polish them, and so they can shine. I strongly believe any human being, even someone that kills another human being, I don't know, the worst possible human that you can think of, they have a gold inside them. They just didn't find that gold. They never even polished that gold. And so it's hidden somewhere. So look, whoever you meet in life, look at their beauty. And once you find it, you will see that everyone's beautiful. Any human being is beautiful and they can teach you. Everyone can teach you something. So
And
enjoy humans.
that's right. That's right. Enjoy your relationships. And Dr. Jonathan?
This is mm, three things are very important. The role you're playing in the relationship and the role the other one is playing, it means hierarchy, what authority, recognizing, respect the authority. The second, it is what make us belong together. What make us that we belong as a couple, as a friends, as a co-workers. So what is this thing that connect us? Because if that doesn't exist, there is no relationship. And the third one is the balance between giving and taking. Because
Giving and taking.
every relationship, it is it is a debt. Every time you do something for someone, you create a debt. And if this other person doesn't pay it by doing a service or what the agreement of the relationship breaks. So all the relationship breaks because they cannot afford to pay the debt they have. So my advice is do not create debt to people that doesn't want to pay you back. So don't give your love to someone that doesn't want to share the love with you. So be respectful with yourself, with your heart, and of course with the other, because sometimes people manipulate and do things for people in order to create these depths, and then they manipulate people. All this love I did for you, all these years of working with this, doing that, da 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 da, and at the end it was only manipulation. So it doesn't work. So and now it is not working, and now you're going to left me.
Yes.
You are bad person. Bad
Yes.
person, no. Bad person, you manipulating and creating debt.
Okay.
So
Thank
don't
you
do
for
that.
that. Thank you. Thank you
Sorry.
so much for that. So, as we come to a close here, the takeaway here is that this is episode 1 of relationships. The three of us will continue this conversation on another day. I'd like to leave you with a couple of things. Relationships require for you to be vulnerable. You have to be in a place of vulnerability in order to completely understand the relationships that you're in. And as life goes on, expectations of individuals change because of the perception and the experience of life for them is changing. So, as expectations change, as people grow, as people get more depth, relationships will certainly have a new depth. The last thing I'd like to leave you with today is, of course, as we've indicated here, fires of relationships. And why did we say fires of relationships? A good fire, like a relationship, needs spaces to breathe. Otherwise, it'll choke itself out. So a part of relationship is to give space to one another. So with that, I would like for Matilda, any last words? You have 1 minute.
I would say if you're lucky enough to still have grandparents, go talk to them, try to connect with them. If you haven't have a very good connection with them, learn from them, they will give you beautiful life lessons that you will keep it later and you will use it later on in life. They are more important. You can learn from them more than you can learn from books or from a professor in a university. They teach you the real stuff.
Beautiful. And of course, again, Matilda is from Coffee with Matilda. Where can they find you?
Coffeewithmatilda@gmail.com, or that's my Instagram is Coffee with Matilda, and my Matilda Tavanian, my Facebook.
Lovely. And Dr. Johnathan, any last words from you for the audience? We have 1 minute.
I work with fire every in my ceremonies, and I have to work in each ceremony 10 hours taking care of a fire. And space, it, it depends of the moment, because if
Yes.
you give too much space, then your fire can go out, can go off. So it's about building and recognizing the power. So fire is the energy that is being created by the combustion of the material that you put there. So you do a service, you do a movement, and it poof. You do a movement, and it poof. So the balance between the movement, so it's the balance between let the fire breathe. I will say, let the fire express and be aware when the fire is needing your support in order to continue being on.
Okay. And where can they find you? You got 10 seconds. Where can they find you if they needed to tune in?
Ancestral Medicine for Modern Times. Also, that's my podcast, and you can find it all everywhere. And also my Instagram at j at dr dot j flores is my Instagram.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Cylindrin Buller, your host of Uplifting Humans, where we honor, empower, educate, and inspire the listener with real stories and expert advice. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
Thank
Bye.
you.